2 days of records and off-the-charts performances and one of the most majestic venues in the U.S. Azusa Pacific University, and day 3 of this year's Bryan Clay Invitational. Phil Grove Old School Track along with Kevin Selby. Kevin, it is going to be a great Saturday. We are starting with the Speed Merchants 4x1 relay to get things rolling. It's been all distance 2 days. Now we're talking much shorter races and some fast races indeed.
See, our crowd is in place and ready to go. We got an outstanding venue and outstanding fields. You see on the track right there, relays getting ready to go. Phil, the first 2 days have not disappointed. They rarely do here at Bryan Clay. So incredible performances last night. We had an NCAA record in the 10,000 on Thursday. Today is more of a standard track meet. You see blocks in place for relays, and then we go to 1500s this evening, where heat after heat after heat is absolutely loaded.
Kevin, I know you are my eyes and ears on California track and fields, my first Bryan Clay experience, but the size of this meet, when I had the opportunity to talk to the former world champion and world Olympic champion Bryan Clay himself, talked about just how massive this meet is and the overflow venues, overflow meets tied to this one. It is one of the fastest growing and largest meets possibly in the world.
Yeah, if they could cram more athletes into this meet, they would. I mean, we're going 12 plus hours a day, and the meet is about teams, where they're allowing teams to come in addition to the gold medalists that are in these fields. So building Division 1, 2, 3, junior colleges, NAIA. So this meet, it's one of the best track and field parties I've ever been to.
And just a great vantage point right now. The FloHawk, our drone, over top the starting line area for the men's 4x1 relay. 4 heats in this one. And Kevin, you talked about the team aspect. Obviously, the top individuals have been here performing at the highest level since Thursday, but this is the run-up to the conference championships from the team perspective. That's so important for coaches, again, keeping their positions, growing their programs, for athletes building up their TFRS resume. And again, this is only the second weekend in April, but this is a key weekend for performances and maturation throughout the season. You
know, we mentioned it yesterday, Phil, where athletes mark this date on the calendar. This is a key invitational weekend, one of the last invitationals before the championship season starts. So this is the time to really sharpen the blade. We're going to see it here in the relay, where athletes are looking to set up, for championships. They got to get these handoffs nailed down because conference championships are coming soon.
Now, I know we've also seen a lot with the weather in these last 3 days. Thursday arrived out here. It hit the mid to upper 80s. Yesterday, much cooler, and today even dropped down a little more with, hopefully not, but a possibility of showers later in the day.
Yeah, it looks like we'll get a little bit of rain this afternoon. Shouldn't be anything major, so half inch or less. And so yeah, we have had a big change in temperature. This might work to the advantage of the athletes for the most part today. It's cloudy, a little bit breezy, but generally pretty good conditions. I wouldn't call it cold at all, but yes, it is unseasonably cool here in Southern California.
And the sprinters then are going to have to bring their own heat today.
This is true, and we're going to see it here shortly.
All right, the Bryan Clay Invitational record, Sam Houston State, 2018, 40.07. The stadium record here at Cougar Stadium, 38.86. That is one hot mark.
Yeah, you see our field here. Cal Poly Pomona in 1, Washington State in 2, Colorado Springs in 3, Thailand in 4, Mesa Community College from Arizona in 5, Pittsburgh State in 6, NAU in 7, and North Texas in 8. And Phil, I do want to say, as they get into the blocks here, in addition to prepping for conference championships, teams like University of Colorado or Colorado Springs are looking for those D2 qualifying marks. The NCAA provisional in the 4x1 for men, 40.91. So these times are starting to matter.
And I know you are a big D2 fan, and I like the small colleges as well. Again, one trip around the track, the speed handoffs are just so critical, and they work on these day in and day out in practice. We are underway. We will go right to left as we gaze out over the mountains, down the back straightaway. Good stick pass out in 8th. That is North Texas in the white uniforms. In the middle of the track, Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas, a D2 power. A good baton pass into the turn. It is Pittsburgh State on the outside in lane 6.
Mesa running well, also on the outside.
Smooth all the way around. Do we have a divisional upset? Pittsburgh State taking this wire to wire. The Gorillas dominate our opening race, 39-96.
Wow, big time by Pittsburgh State. Fabulous running. And that 40-second barrier, obviously huge. So you see North Texas in 2nd, Washington State 3rd, Cal Poly Pomona hits that Division II mark. Pittsburgh State jumps up the Division II rankings, puts them in a tie coming into the weekend nationally. So that is a national leader coming into the weekend for Pittsburgh State.
And they were on the outside in lane 6. Not easily done, not knowing where everybody else is, but focusing on yourself and on your stick exchanges.
So, yeah, wow, what a great run. And they were out well down the backstretch. They really took advantage of a solid handoff in the first exchange, and sub 40, huge.
All right, some more D2 and lower division schools coming up in heat number 2 right after this timeout. And as many of you have heard before, records are made to be broken. The first one in the first relay event today goes down. Sam Houston State's 40.07 is no more. The Gorillas from Pittsburgh State in Kansas, 39.96. There it is, heat 2. And some more Division II schools, Academy of Art, they're out of San Francisco. They're on the inside. And actually, they are a scratch. Lane 1 is open. But we're filled in 2 through 8. Set. And it's a clean start. Once again, handoffs are critical. Weber State in 7. Followed closely behind by Fresno Pacific. Weber State late into the zone. Fresno Pacific burning up lane 6 once again. Pittsburgh State set the tone. A good baton. Oh, did they get it down? No, they did not. Fresno Pacific did not get the baton pass completed. And now inside in lane 3, that is Colorado State. The Rams taking advantage of a missed baton exchange, and they will beat Maryland to the line. Just when it looked like that race was decided, Kevin, that second baton pass.
Yeah, Fresno Pacific was out so well, and they just couldn't execute it. They had a couple of stabs at it, but after those first 2 attempts, they just couldn't land it. So big disappointment for Fresno Pacific, as they are, obviously one of the top programs in Division II and looking to move up the ranks. So Fresno Pacific, they're going to have to wait for another day.
And Kevin, as a coach and working with athletes, you know that they are going to have a debriefing on exactly what happened in that baton pass for the second time around.
Right, and Fresno Pacific has run 40-71 on the season, so not in position to qualify. They're ranked 25th coming into the weekend in Division II, so that makes it difficult. Now they're going to have to look to the next weekend to, and gosh, they were in such good position, but it seemed like hands were there, but didn't happen.
All right, we will be back in heat number 3 of the 4x1 relay at this year's Bryan Clay Invitational.
Second time in the past 30 minutes.
All right, rocking and rolling once again, Kevin. Third heat of the 4x1 relay. And we've had a 40.6 win in the second heat where, and again, if ifs and buts, Fresno Pacific, if they would have got that baton pass, I can see like a 40.1 or a 40.2 because they definitely had established themselves as the leader and already a record broken at 39.96. The track is hot today.
Right, yeah, and while the conditions are cloudy, it's not like hot sprint weather, still pretty darn good, and also the competition is good. And you see here on the track with Heat 3, another quality field.
And I know some field event specialists would tell me otherwise, but with area breeze, that also helps the athletes running the ovals today.
Yeah, so we're looking at this in Heat 3 here. We've got some high-quality teams and programs. Fresno State, center of the track, South Dakota State. So could see another fantastic relay here. And again, the way they're seated allows for this awesome competition.
And my friends from British Columbia, Simon Fraser, the Red Leafs, the only NCAA program north of the border. And Simon Fraser, they put in the frequent flyer miles. They made at least 2 trips to Boston University this winter. Dropped down here to Azusa Pacific. And a clean start once again. Heat 3, men's 4x1 relay. Pretty even through the first 50 meters. And out in 7, the baton pass first by Calgary International, but their number 2 runner not quite as quick as the rest of the field. In 6 again, Azusa Pacific, the home team. Coming into the turn, but on the inside in red, Fresno State, the Bulldogs. In 5, but South Dakota State. In lane 4, the Jackrabbits. 39-40. Looks like they're going to be right about 41 flat, Kevin.
Strong leg. That third leg for South Dakota State really made the difference because coming into the second pass, Fresno State was really in position, but South Dakota State on the turn made the difference.
Winning time, as you can see, 41-23, 3/10 up on Western Washington. And as we prep for the 4th and final heat of the men's 4x1 relay, we will step aside for a second. It is Saturday morning, about 10:16 on the West Coast. Phil Grove and Kevin Selby bringing you day 3 action, the final day of this year's Bryan Clay Invitational at Azusa Pacific. And this 4th and final heat, Kevin, hits all the boxes in California track and field.
Sure, you see Laverne nearby, Pomona Pitzer D3 program nearby. And as we return, our in-stadium announcer just reminded us we started the day with a meet record by Pittsburgh State, first time under 40 seconds, heat 4 on the track.
Now, Pomona Pitzer has done incredible things in the distance program. Cross-country national championships. Their former coach, now the distance coach at Boston University, Jordan Carpenter, just an incredible young coach, really going to make his way up through the D1 ranks, I am certain, during his career. But again, California track and field, whether it's the high school level or obviously the collegiate level, it just really is at a different altitude than many other states.
And Pomona Pitzer, which is part of the Claremont College, is a very unique setup with a cluster of colleges, pulls from Pomona and Pitzer. Those are 2 separate schools to make a team, and they have depth, like year in and year out. You know, they may not have the superstars up front qualifying for USAs, but man, as a program, like a lot of depth there. And you know, their sister school, Claremont, the Claremont Mud Scripps team, also tremendous D3 power. So, and just nearby, just minutes away from Azusa here.
And I know I was a D3 athlete back in the day, so whether by choice or just the recruitment process just didn't come together, you can see D3 athletes able to come out to the Stanford Invitationals, the Bryan Clays, and compete at the highest level.
Yeah, the weather's good in Southern California. Good training 12 months a year, you know. So, but I think those Western PA folks that you're familiar with, I think they get tough from adverse conditions. So spoiled here in Southern California with the weather.
All right, there's our lineup. The leadoff runners in the blocks, ready for our final heat of the men's 4x1 relay. And it is a clean start. Trevecca Nazarene, Laverne, Pomona Pitzer, Cal Poly Humboldt, and CSU Bakersfield. And my eyes drawn to the middle of the track. Pomona Pitzer in 4.
And Pitzer running very well down the backstretch.
Solid blue uniform, early pass in the zone. Lost some of that momentum, but they take it into the turn with the lead. And the baton intact. Anchor runner has it. He's got a long run for home. They do have about 8 to 10 meters over CSU Bakersfield on the last lane. They will hold it to the line. Under 42 seconds for the win.
And it appears that
42.05, the official.
Pomona Pitzer with a seasonal best in that 42.05. Cal Poly Humboldt and Bakersfield right together. You see Laverne, a neighbor here of Azusa Pacific, in 4th.
We will switch to the ladies in the 4x1. Back right after this. We have to mention the records because we had one broken in the men's 4x1 relay. The Bryan Clay Invitational Standard 45-45, San Diego State. The facility record 44-32, Central State from Ohio.
Yeah, that's an impressive stadium record. That's a tough one to beat.
And that goes back to 1994.
Yeah, the Bryan Clay Invitational. A long-standing meet. And here we go, 4x1.
And that might have been back in the NAIA days. So right now looking at the outside in lane 6, that is Azusa Pacific. They know this track very well. NAU in 5. You know them for their distance prowess. But right now they are in the mix in the sprints. Washington State in lane 4. But there go the Lumberjacks in 5. A nice pass. Mid-height, they're in the turn. They are in the lead. Northern Arizona. And on the inside now in lane 2, Fresno Pacific. Washington State, Northern Arizona to the line. This one's going to be tight. The lean. And who gets it? Is it NAU? It is Washington State, 45-14. That is a meet record by over 0.3 of a second, Kevin.
Wow, we open up on the women's side with a very close win. Washington State, the 45-14, the meet record, as you mentioned. Fresno Pacific, 2 100ths back, tied with NAU. So top 3 separated by 2 100ths of a second. Fresno Pacific moves into the lead nationally in Division II by a solid second. So a huge run. And they were on the inside, so they were pushed by those teams on the outside, chasing throughout the race.
And kudos to the anchor runners from Washington State and NAU. They ran down the anchor runner from Fresno Pacific, which was in the lead, but seemed like maybe a meter or two. And we'll jump to a break and come back with heat number 2 of the women's 4x1 relay. All right, 2 records broken in the 4x1 relays. Kevin, and you talked about that Central State record. They are currently a D2 program, so small schools making the trip west, and that record has been on the books since '94 as we head to heat number 2, and there is a lineup.
Similar to what we've seen in the distances, competition determining the level of performance here, where teams are pushing each other and the results are showing.
And we have a full house, lanes 1 through 8. And it's a clean start once again. And out in 8, Pittsburgh State, their women's relay team, off to a good first 100 meters. And on the inside, that looks like Hawaii in lane 2. This one's difficult to figure out right now, Kevin, after 200 meters.
Lewis running well in 6, and Riverside on the outside.
Another D2 program, Lewis in 6. And it is the Rainbows in lane 2 with the lead. Can they bring it all the way home? And it's going to be in 8. Pittsburgh State And Hawaii with the battle. Pittsburgh State, it was difficult to pick them out. They were hidden by the rail, 44-96.
Pittsburgh State bringing the batons, new meet record, and a D2 national leader.
They had a great first 100 meters, and then the field sort of caught up to them, and they pull out the victory on the outside in 8. Not easily done.
So that final pass was a difference maker for Pittsburgh State, and one of the top times in the NCAA overall on the season.
We'll be back. Heat number 3, women's 4x1.
Dude, Pittsburgh State, what is going on?
And it's time to go through the listing for the 4x1 relay for women, heat number 3. There are scheduled competing teams. And Kevin, we were playing a little mascot and nickname trivia. Any idea of Washburn's nickname?
You got me.
The Ichabods.
The Ichabods.
And not Ichabod Crane, Washington Irving. Ichabod Washburn, the founder of the school. They're the Ichabods. Even though the resemblance maybe to Abe Lincoln and stovetop hat and all that good stuff. But they're in lane 2 in this one. Teams in the blocks ready for third heat, 4x1 relay. And a clean start. All 8 lanes filled in the middle of the track. That is Idaho in 4. The Vandals, one of the Division I squads in this heat, going deep into the zone. And they're running down some of the competition, checking in on the staggers. Again, the Vandals, a nice pass. On the outside in 7, that's South Dakota State. Also, I see Saginaw Valley from Michigan, a Division II program, but it's the Vandals from Idaho in the middle of the track. In 5, Weber State right beside them. The Vandals are going to steal this one to the line. They are victorious. Idaho with the victory.
Idaho consistent around the track. Each of their legs very solid. So 45-82. Weber right there. Weber closed well over the last 150. 46-10 in second. But Idaho just totally steady throughout all 4 legs.
Final heat of the 4x1 relay coming up for the women. Live from Bryan Clay. Kevin, I know this was the topic that JoJo and I had sort of discussed or talked about earlier in our coverage of Bryan Clay Invitational about the allure or the mystique of the dual meet. Years ago, decades ago, dual meets are what it was all about. And still, we have the big meet, which is coming up on FloTrack in just a couple weeks, Cal and Stanford. But in the small college scene in California, there's still some dual meet rivalries out there that stand out on schedules in addition to these big invites.
Yeah, so just a couple of dual meets I can think of off the top of my head. That doesn't mean that there's not rivalries, but USC and UCLA, I'm fairly certain have their dual meet. But yeah, with the focus on times and qualifying, it takes away from dual meets, unfortunately. And here we go.
And then back in the day, Track and Field News used to have their dual meet rankings. And that's old school.
Yeah, and the Cal Stanford big meet is a great one on the calendar, but yeah, few and far between.
Wayne State from Michigan in lane 4. In the lead on the outside, Pomona Pitzer looks good in lane 7. But it's the ladies from the Great Lake area. Wayne State in lane 4, looking to complete this run the victory. Simon Fraser from Canada. Northern Schools. They don't have the weather yet, but they have the speed this morning. Simon Fraser, the Red Leafs. Once again, the only NCAA program in Canada. They get the win in heat number 4.
Yeah, on the inside, 46-77 for Simon Fraser. Wayne State, who held the lead for a good portion of that race, 47-20.
All right, now we're going to go to the 400-meter dash. One of the toughest events in the conversation with, in my mind, the 400 hurdles, the 800-meter dash. And we'll break. Be right back. 400s from Bryan Clay. And we are back again, a one-lap race, but this time it is the flat 400 meters. And the facility record, 45:44, going back to 1999. The invite record, 45:79. That is 8 years old. The current NCAA #1 performance for the men, Christopher Morales-Williams, who just turned heads for Georgia indoors, 45:18. That's the outdoor lead right now, Kevin.
We may see a number of records challenged here, or leaderboards challenged, including stadium and meet records on the line. Olympian Isaiah Jewett in lane 4.
A long hold, both going into the set and coming out. Jewett not the best start in 4, as the outside part of this field has definitely gotten away from him early, but he is a strength guy. He's dropping down in distance. We'll see him in the last 100 meters.
Dedewo, bronze medalist at the world level, current leader.
And on the outside in 7, that's Dylan Gibson from Southern Utah, running a solid first 280 meters. Here comes Jewett. Can he close in his final 100? On the inside in 2, Grant Buckmiller from Washington State. Off the radar, will he close and win? And then it is Gibson again from Southern Utah to the line. And we're looking to the scoreboard for the final results. Too close to call. It is Buckmiller, Grant Buckmiller, 46.09. Gibson on the outside in 46.15. And Jewett did close, but again, dropping down in distance, he really took some time to get his legs wound up.
Yeah, Jewett timed that close well. Not quite enough to get the win. His last 50 was probably the best part of his race. And a good opener for him, but give it up for Washington State on the inside. Like, that was a really strong performance.
And step aside, heat number 2 coming back. All right, when we were on break, I mentioned to Kevin, we haven't had a winner from the middle of the track yet. 6, 8, 2, been all over the place. You got to watch all 8 lanes here so far today at Bryan Clay.
Yeah, I think what we're having is a merging of post-collegiates opening their seasons and collegiates coming into a peak, or into that peak phase as they enter into the championship season. So they're at different points in their season. So maybe not running lifetime best for some of the pros, but that's not their intention.
And again, this is an Olympic year. They're thinking Paris, whether everybody obviously is not going to get there or even have a legitimate shot of making it to the finals of the U.S. Olympic trials, but their focus is Paris and being at the top of their game. I know when we've worked together on the Mountain Pacific meet for FloTrack up in Spokane, Cal State Fullerton really has excelled in the sprints and in the hurdles. They're on the inside in 1 and 2 today.
Yeah, they're a well-rounded program. And last night, they had a school record at 5,000 meters. So, yeah, well-rounded, good-sized program. And you got 2 of their quarter-milers here on the inside.
All right, all 8 lanes are filled. This is heat number 2. And Grant Buckmiller set the standard 46.09 with the win in heat number 1. And we're underway. Flat 400 for the men Saturday morning at Bryan Clay. Smoking it in lane 4, or actually in lane, yes, it is lane 4. That is Shamar Palmer from Fresno Pacific. Coming into the turn, final 200 meters. And that looks like Sam Tudor from Pittsburgh State. In 3 on the outside, in 4, that is Shamar Palmer. From Fresno Pacific. He looks strong at the beginning. He cruises to the line. And the big man goes 46 low.
So the sophomore came in ranked 4th in Division II nationally, 46-18, a huge run. Knocks nearly 0.7 off of his seasonal best. Tudor, also a big run at the Division II level. He becomes one of 7 coming into the weekend that's gone sub 47. So you're looking at 2 guys who could be in the D2 final. Huge run by Palmer rather.
Coming back, more 400-meter dashes live from Azusa Pacific. I think our skies are lightening up just a little bit, Kevin, as the Flow Hawk flying overhead. We'll get some great shots, I know, from our trademark drone, just doing some fantastic circles of the oval here. 4 left turns is what we're going to do in heat number 3 of the men's 400 dash. There's the lineup. And actually, Kevin, we have one standing start athlete out in lane 7. That is Nico Schultz from Nebraska. Maybe an 800 guy dropping down in distance.
46-18, our current leader. And after that heat 1, awesome performance by Palmer.
And we are clear and underway. And once again, Schultz with that standing start. It's got a little bit of ground to make up already in lane 8. Ethan Williams from Washington State trying to duplicate what his teammate Grant Buckmiller did in heat number 1 in the middle of the track right now. Looks like from Merrimack, that is Corey Couture in the blue. And in lane 2, Ibrahim Odung from MSU Moorhead. And it is Couture from Merrimack making the big trip west. And out in 8, Williams from Washington State closing Couture to the line. Did you hold him off? It looks like he did.
47-27 for Couture, center of the track. So Williams on the outside almost got him, 47-34.
So a nice tight race in that one. And finally, from the middle of the track, we have a winner.
The seeding paid off.
All right, we'll be back. One more heat coming up, the men's 400-meter dash live from California. some low numbers, a couple meet records. They have been zooming around this track. Cougar Stadium, Azusa Pacific University, Bryan Clay Invitational, the Olympic and world champion back in 2005, 2008. And I met him yesterday for the first time. He still looks like he could go out there and 10-eventer. And I'm certain he would quickly say, no, it is too difficult of an event. Have you ever met Bryan?
Yeah, I think I interviewed him on, I think it was at the 2012 trials when injury got the best of him. You know, to be a multi, you got to be durable because it takes years to develop. And he was looking to defend. And as we discussed yesterday, held his head high, operated with class, and was, I think character really speaks to Bryan Clay. He deserves to have this meet continue to be named after him and is one of the great Olympic champions.
All right, they are loaded up from Pittsburgh State lanes 1, 2, and 7. The Gorillas have shown they are very quick in the relay. How do they come back in the flat 400 dash? And we are underway. On the outside in 7, one of those Pittsburgh State sprinters, Bailey Stone, starting to make up the stagger on Daviga from Minnesota State in 8. But sneaking ahead in the middle of the track, that looks like Middle Tennessee State's Brady Daniels in 5. This is going to be a tight one coming off the turn with 120 meters to go. In lane 2, Caden Williams from Pittsburgh State. In 3, Sokil Fuqua from North Texas. Williams from Pittsburgh State. The red and black team is going to pick up another win. 47 and change.
Yeah, I was going to say Williams with that low 47, 47-14. Coming off of the into the main straightaway, Fuqua looked like he had it, but Williams closed over that last 80 to take that section 4.
All right, heat number 5, live from Bryan Clay, men's 400 dash.
Yeah, so this.
We are approaching the midpoint of the lineup of men's 400-meter dashes. The leader right now out of heat number 1, that was Grant Buckmiller's 46.09. The top 3 separated by just 0.09 of a second. As heat number 5, you see the lineup. Once again, some smaller colleges doing battle with some mid-majors in D1. And we're underway. Just one open lane. That is 7. So 1 to 6. And then that gap. And on the island on the outside, Kenny Carpenter from Colorado State. In lane 4, cruising along, that is Oba from the Academy of Art. in San Francisco, the Division II program. They have done very well in their short lifespan in athletics. And Oba in 4. Next to him in lane 6, Grant Van Emmerich from Cal Poly Humboldt, who has the lead. And in lane 8, Carpenter from Colorado Springs, but it's going to be the young man from Cal Poly Humboldt with the win.
.47.58, recent school record holder at Cal Poly Humboldt takes this section. So that was an outstanding close by Van Emmerich. Ty Thompson of Chico State out of lane 1 runs 47.70. Carpenter of Colorado State 48.08. So again, center of the track, not producing our winner, but Van Emmerich on a roll lately, 47.58.
Skies are starting to clear at Bryan Clay. More 400s coming up next. It's a 3-day meet at Bryan Clay and an opportunity to get in some extra work, whether it's pacing, whether it's doubling up, and a couple athletes that we've seen yesterday in the Open 800s. Patrick Forrest, I saw him out actually warming up on the local streets. He's running for Garden State. He's in lane 1. And Joe Lighthall from BYU, he is in lane 4, and I am guessing, well, it looks like Forrest might be using the blocks, but Lighthall is going to do a standing start in this heat number 6 of the 400-meter dash.
These athletes have got to get ready to run multiple rounds. Got to be able to come back the next day with, conference championships coming in the next couple of weeks.
And that was a big hold going into the set command. Lighthall in 4's got to make up some ground, lost momentum with that standing start. The only one using that, we do have one empty lane next to him. On the inside in lane 3. Actually, that might be Cal State Fullerton's runner in 5. Pushing it on the outside, Miles Copeland Nolte from Central Arizona in 7. And next to him, Camden Patterson from Cal Poly Pomona in lane 8. They're side by side, dueling for victory in heat number 6 of the 400-meter dash. To the line, it's going to be Copeland Nolte from Central Arizona.
Strong community college program, Central Arizona, 47.54 on the win for Copeland Nolte. It was a nice close by Lighthall, up for second, running 48.05. Pierce of South Dakota State in 3rd.
More live track action on FloTrack. April in Southern California. 400 meters, again, one of the most difficult events on the track. 400 dash, 400 hurdles, 800 meter run. I'm an 800 meter fan and also a big supporter. Just so difficult the way that event has changed over the past really 40 years, going back to the early 80s. Earl Jones from Eastern Michigan, when he made the U.S. team in the Olympics, just changed it to going out in 49 and low 50 was common, and is still now. We're running the quarter right now. All right, a couple empty lanes in 4 and 7. .46.09, still the standard set today. And Kevin, we have some sunshine out there and shadows. That's a good sign. Hopefully it holds out the rest of the day. And it's just been a great 2024 Bryan Clay Invitational.
So you mentioned the sun coming out. We've got just the slightest little headwind in the home stretch. We'll see how that factors into this section in the 400.
And looking very smooth in the middle of the track. That is, I believe, Jeffrey Lammy running unattached in 5. And it looks like an athlete pulled up on the back straight. That's 2 consecutive races. We unfortunately had a DNF. That is in lane 5. Jeffrey Lammy went out strong, had the lead, but now on the outside in 7, Nick Ekelin Aranander with the strong push, and next to him in 8, Brian Lee from Western Washington. I believe that is Ekelin Aranander with the win, and it is 48 double fives.
So Lee of Western Washington close, also on the outside in 2nd, and then Anderson of NAU 48.87 in 3rd out of the inside.
Step aside for a couple seconds. Be right back. More from the Bryan Clay Invitational. So Kevin, back in the day, were you a 400 guy? You got the length for it, no?
No leg speed here,
okay.
The longer the better.
All right.
And you were talking about the 800, and you know, one thing of interest is, as we talk about the development of that race, we've seen some 800 meter runners here in these 400 heats as we are getting ready for section 7. So Bryce Hoppel goes to altitude and changes his game, starts training a little more strength-based, it seems, and the results show indoors. So the evolution of the event, I think the evolution of each athlete is key too, right? Where sometimes if things are still, we got to change the game.
Yeah, and again, 49.5 isn't for everybody, obviously, but a Dave Waddle being at the tail end of the field by 10 meters and kicking to win an Olympic final isn't going to play out that often in 2024. Even if you have a golf nightcap on.
And Waddle came from the mile, right? So that's strength.
Right. And the Midwest and the Mid-American Conference, for heaven's sakes. And he is a great guy. I've met him several times. Dave Waddle, again, the Olympic champion, 1972 in Munich. And we're underway, a full 8 lanes filled. In lane 1, looking very good, Thomas Rosengren from Minnesota State, running that very quick, tight turn. And in 3, Lucas Brennick, Western Washington in the light blue kit. And on the outside in 8, that's Dimitri Coffey from Chico State.
She destroys already too.
Western Washington's Lucas Brennick, mentioned him earlier. He's got the lead coming in the final 100 meters. He's up by 3. He's tightening up. On the outside, Zach Stanley from Butler. He is going to be the first one to hit the line in just over 48 seconds.
So Stanley came off the turn. Couldn't quite catch Coffey out of lane 8. So Stanley and Coffey executed at the end of that race, but Coffey hid from us on the right next to the bleachers. So he was out well and then kind of got caught on the turn, but turned it on at the end to take section 8.
So Chico State with the victory in section number 8. Just a couple more remaining. The men's 400-meter dash, jumping aside to a commercial. Be right back at Azusa Pacific. All right, Kevin, you're going to be in heaven with this one. A couple more D2 programs. The Chargers from Hillsdale, Michigan. They have an athlete in lane 2. And then also another Michigan D2 program, Saginaw Valley. They have a big indoor 300 oval. And Tyler Burrell, he's out in lane 6. And a clean start. And back to the hats out in lane 7, Esteban Ibanez. Running a pretty good first 150. And in the middle of the track, the Billikens from St. Louis, that's Danny Hopkins. And Ibanez out in 7. With the lead coming off the turn. In 1, Gabe Miles, North Dakota State's moving up, but it is Ibanez from Team ESEA moving the arms and moving the legs, and he's going to hit the line. Looks like about 48 mid for the win.
Ibanez from El Salvador.
48 flat. That's a PR.
Yeah, appears to be a multi, if I'm not mistaken. Lifetime best 72.17, and knocks out a lifetime best here at 400 meters. A big lifetime best, nearly a second, 48 flat.
And a 48 flat in the 10 eventer will get him some good points. I know that in talking with Bryan Clay yesterday, the multi-event athlete that I have covered most extensively, almost all of it at the high school level. Aiden Owens Delorme, now representing Puerto Rico, started out at Southern Cal, went to Michigan and then to Arkansas, but one of the top young decathletes in the country, and he is just a beast at 400 meters. I think the second fastest ever over 400 in a 10-event, 2-day competition.
Banya is one of those athletes that prepping for the summer where he's got sights on Paris.
All right, we'll be back with heat number 10, men's 400. Grant Buckmiller's 46.09, just 0.3 of a second off the Bryan Clay Invitational record. That is the top mark thus far as we move to heat number 10 of the men's 400. Once again, a full track, lanes 1 through 8. Representing Pomona Pitzer, Wisconsin Parkside, St. Laurent Select, CUI, Weber State, UC Riverside, and the University of Maryland.
Are your joints telling you something else that you're not feeling?
And a clean start thus far. No false starts, which is always a great thing. In lane 5 from Weber State, Colby Alexander, 1 lane to his inside. On the left, Christopher Victoria from CUI. So it is Victoria in 4, Anderson in 5, and on the outside, Sam Ford from Maryland in lane 8. But the young man representing CUI, Christopher Victoria, with Ford against the bleachers. Sam Ford with a big rush in the final 140, hiding in the shadows of the bleachers. He gets the win at 48 and change.
So it seemed like Victoria and Anderson were kind of rabbiting each other and prompting each other throughout that race, while Ford took advantage on the outside as those two battled on the inside. 48-48 on the win for Ford.
All right, coming back, more from Bryan Clay. And Matt Swanson is on an island. He is underway a solo run out of lane 6 in the 11th and final heat of the men's 400. 46.09 is the mark to beat. Tough to run any race alone if you're out there by yourself and just put yourself in the lead, but at the quarter out in lane 6, not an easy task, Kevin.
Yeah, Matt Swanson here closing out competition in the 400. We wish we could have got him in one of the previous heats.
It definitely would have helped. In 6, under sunny skies in Azusa, California. The LSU long sprinter headed to line, gets a nice applause from the crowd. Again, not something that he would have picked on the plane here, but low 48, 48-15. And we will step aside. It's turn to the women, 400 meters at Bryan Clay. Sunshine greeting the women's 400-meter competitors, and the national lead 51-16 in the collegiate ranks. And the lineup in heat number one, you see it on your smartphone, laptop, or big screen. The facility and meet record 50.55. Spencer back in 2008. And a good start once again. And a very good start. Nell Graham from North Dakota State out in lane 8. Seemed like she picked up 3 to 4 meters in the first 10. And on the inside, in lane 2, running unattached from Rice, Knowledge Omavo.
Watch Werner of Azusa. She comes into today top 8 in Division II on the season.
Elena Werner in 3, and she is right next to Knowledge Omavo in lane 2. On the outside, Nell Graham, North Dakota State. We have about 4 or 5 runners within a couple strides. Graham against the bleachers. Nell Graham put herself in good position early on. She is going to be the first one to hit the line. Nell Graham, 52.57.
So great execution by Graham. You see Najar, Washington State in second. Look at the depth on this race. Ray of NAU, top 3 under 53. A seasonal best for Werner. Moves her up the Division II ranks into the top 5. Make that 6. So huge run there. Tremendous depth in Section 1.
And I know if I was a sprinter out there today, I'd be happy to see the Sunshine warm it up just a little bit, Kevin, as we're headed to heat number 2 in the women's 400.
Now the conditions are good. The flag is completely still. Flags on the field aren't moving. Great conditions.
All right, we have one winner in the books in the women's 400 meters. Nell Graham from North Dakota State made the long trip from the Great Plains to the West Coast. Heat number 2 is on the track, getting set in the blocks. We do have an open lane. That is lane number 6. And Graham's time, once again, 52:57. Again, fairly long holds, not to be overly critical of the starters, but they have definitely been holding them a long time in these 400s, both the relay and the open 400. In the middle of the track, Cal Poly Pomona, Ayana Fields in 4. And on the inside, in lane 2, Mulaney Rodney from OTC Elevation. Wearing the neon and black kit. She's rounding the turn well out in front. Ms. Rodney is running against the clock. No one else close. And a very strong effort, just hitting 50 seconds through the line, and she might be, and she is, 52:15, our new overall leader, Kevin.
So Rodney, that Olympian out of Grenada, not a lifetime best, but in great position here as she looks towards Paris. So an Olympian taking section 2.
All right, and the motivation there was all internal, no one in the field to push her as she puts a new number 1 on the board. Coming back, heat number 3 in the women's 400.
In this.
And everybody has obviously their specialty, and inside and outside we see some people dropping down in distance, I do believe. On the outside in lane 8, Sammy Watson running for Adidas, one of the top 800-meter runners in the U.S., and women's 800 is just loaded. We saw Michaela Rose yesterday move closer to Thing Mo's all-time collegiate record, and Michaela Meyer, Nike Elite, both of those ladies using a standing start in this heat number 3 of the 400-meter dash. And they're underway, and Kevin got to meet Sammy Watson for the first time up at Boston University this winter. Just a wonderful young lady, and really looking forward to this outdoor season, but not the start she wanted. She pulls up on the back straightaway, and I hope that is not a long-term situation. And Sammy Watson, something we're definitely going to have to monitor down the road. In heat number 3, Rebecca Grieve from New Mexico and Chloe Sharp from Fresno State. And 2 lanes inside, Leonie Bew from Middle Tennessee State, a battle in 4, 5, and 6. And on the inside, Mariana Gancedo, but Leonie Bew from Middle Tennessee State is going to pick up the victory, and just the clouds have returned in more ways than one as Sammy Watson walking inside that far turn, turn number 2. And that race did not develop at all how I hoped.
Yeah, really disappointing for Watson. We hope that it's nothing major as Boo takes the win. Gancedo from Mexico in second, and from North Texas, Williams in third.
Back into second, Bryan Clay. All right, Kevin, we've had so many storylines already. I know you were doing the research overnight and this morning about the look-aheads, but we've had meet records. We've had some top national class and world-class athletes potentially with an injury, had to pull out of their race. So many things have happened already in a short time.
Yeah, as we get ready for Section 4, we're off to a great start here in the sprints after a couple of tremendous days in distance events.
And a good start once again. Full track, 8 lanes. In lane 3, that's Emily Nichols from St. Louis, one of the Billiken sprinters. And on the outside in 7, Iana Ross from Fresno State. So red and blue kits right now running very well in heat number 4 of the women's 400. Coming into the final turn on the outside now in lane 6. Blossom Omagor from Idaho. In the middle of the track, Emily Nichols from St. Louis in 1. Michaela Vassal from New Mexico State. 5 runners have a chance at this. Who's going to hit the line first? And it looked like it was either Nichols or potentially Tucker. It is Tucker, 55 flat. Nichols at 55.05.
Tucker closed well in lane 5. So Nichols had the edge coming into the home straight, but it was Tucker.
All right, heat number 5 next up on the schedule with Bryan Clay. Heat number 5 is where we are right now in the women's 400-meter dash. Mulaney Rodney, former UCLA Bruin, 52.15 is our overall leader going into Heat 5. Full track, 1 to 8. And it is a clean start for heat number 5, women's 400 at Bryan Clay. And in lane 3, Grace Goldsworthy from Cal State Fullerton on the outside in 7 and 8. Angelica Chapman from Weber State, Elena Willems from Washington State. And Willems, we heard that name already in the men's 400, running up against the bleachers. In 5 and in 2, that is Michaela McDowell from St. Louis in 2. In 5, Alexandra Niska from North Dakota State. Saw those ladies run a quick 4x4 relay. North Dakota State, the Bison, will pick up a victory. And Alexandra Niskin, 54-30 for the win. So a solid effort in the middle of the track. Back with heat number 6, women's quarter. So the Bison from North Dakota State have been picking up some hardware thus far as top finishes as we go to heat number 6. I mentioned just the end of that last race that they were up at BU and ran a very good 4x4. So I'm certain when we get to that event, it will be very interesting indeed. The ladies from the Great Plains. The outside lanes are filled 2 through 8. And in the middle of track 4, 5, and 6, Ashley Lewis from PDC, Micah Edwards from Pittsburgh State, and Malaya Medley from Azusa Pacific. And looking to the inside of the track now, in lane 2, Favor Akpali from London Western. Cranking it out in lane 2. She is going to be the leader by quite a bit. Coming out of the turn from north of the border, Favor Akpali. London Western is going to win this one by 12 to 15 meters out of the tight confines of lane number 2, Kevin.
Yeah, it seems to be misseeded where she totally ran away with that section. 53-41, uncontested.
Heat 7, lucky number 7, coming up next from Azusa Pacific University. Heat number 7 is on the track, and we do have 7 competitors in lanes 1 through 7. Maybe something good is going to come out of this one. A nice big practice throw in the Jav. Warming up in the infield at Cougar Stadium. And once again, mixing it up against the much bigger schools. Pittsburgh State has one of their sprinters in the middle of the track. The 52.15 by Melanie Rodney. Leading the way as 4 ladies have run under 53 seconds thus far. Yasmin Johnson, the gorilla on the track, so to speak, in lane 4 for Pittsburgh State, Division II team from Kansas. They have hosted the Indoor Nationals in D2, and you can see why they have a stellar track program. She's leading, coming into the final 100 meters. Closest pursuer is Nancy DeMatt from Cal State Fullerton on her right. It's tightening up and inside. That is Caracer Augustin from Washburn. And the winner from Washburn, Caracer Augustin, out of lane number 3.
Johnson started coming back. You had a challenge from DeMatti of Fullerton, but Augustin had the gears and had the strength to close.
55.78, the numbers you see them populating on your screen. The official results, heat number 7 from this year's Bryan Clay Invitational. And the month of April is definitely a big one in the FloTrack circles. Some major meets. The first one here this weekend at the Bryan Clay Invitational. There's the rest of the month. Kicking off today, the Bison Outdoor Classic in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. Originally, I was scheduled to be there. Rotterdam Marathon tomorrow. Continental Tour of the World Athletics in Nairobi. London Marathon. The Penn Relays, 3 days in Philadelphia, Franklin Field. You can't beat it. Peyton Jordan at Stanford on the 26th. And the